Okay, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you what a lesson looks like. Now, this is not a complete new lesson. It's not refined 100%. But it'll give you an idea of what a lesson looks like after you've kind of tweaked it using Nearpod. So on your main library, you can always go into a lesson through this way and enter a code. And that should take me to where I want to go. Now, this is going to be a student-paced lesson. A live lesson, you can control actually the speed at which students progress at. So I'm going to change my name. So Tim is the example student, and they would join just kind of like a Kahoot entry. And then they could go through the slides at their own pace. Now, so this is... I've changed the notes here to fill in the blanks. So what they can do is just by dragging if, then, because, and again, you can expand on this in terms of the font. You can make it larger. You can add images to it. This is just very basic, but for at least an introductory perspective, this is a good chance to see it. So when they're done, they see how accurate they were in filling in the blanks. And you can use a much larger paragraph if you wanted to. There's a lot of things you could do with this, but then again, this is the first lab we're going to kind of do during the year, so I wanted to introduce them to the unit, at the lab, and the technology all at the same time. So then it offers you opportunities to take polls. So like if you want to do a prediction, if you're doing literature, you can do a prediction, or even like for science, which percentage of the alcohol will cause a greater reaction. So this is a fire in the bottle where we're going to compare 70 and 90% alcohol solutions and light them on fire and see what the reaction is. So they can start off by just taking a prediction of what they thought would be the greater reaction. So let's say they think, okay, well, it's 90%, it's going to be better. Now, they won't see the responses to that. That just shows that they submitted it. Now, here's our just general notes like you would go through, and you can record audio over these if you wanted to explain. You can embed videos in here or other images, very much like Google Slides. Google Slides and Nearpod kind of merge into one, so you can do one of two things with it. But when you do Nearpod, you are creating a brand new slide. You can't embed it on top of a previous slide, as far as I understand, but again, I'm kind of new at this. So again, I want to go through the three variables: independent, dependent, and talk about constants. We would just discuss those. Now, this is a feature where students can actually take a quiz to see if they understand the concepts, and I hope it works right. Now, this is what the students would see. Now, they have to be careful when they're doing this because they have to be using the icon here and not here, but they can pick any stupid character. And yes, I know this is elementary, but I think it does have some value in terms of an inline review as you're going through something. So I'll go ahead and now it's start. So ask them a question. See if I'm right. My internet's working very slowly now, so I apologize for that. I'm not sure why it's not submitting it. Normally it submits it much quicker, but hopefully it'll change in 5 seconds anyway. And there are different backgrounds and settings you can use and change. I'm not sure why that's giving me a problem, so I apologize. We're going to go back and try that one more time. If it's a real problem, I'll have to go back and re-edit the video and do it again, but I'm really hopeful not to. Okay, so yeah, it brought me to the next question. I'm not sure what the problem was, so I actually now this time it took it. So it must have been, I have my Wi-Fi, my wife's upstairs online as well. That brings you to the next question. And again, you can do 5, 10 questions, and they're basically, I'll miss one to see how that shows grading. And it keeps track of their scores and based on their time and their accuracy, and it does give them a rating. Now, just like Kahoot, it puts them on a platform. And that'll actually keep track. It doesn't have to be active. If a student comes back later, I'm going to turn it off so it's really irritating. So if a student wants to go does it later in the day, their scores are all going to still be compared. So it's kind of like a leaderboard of the day. It's not of that one activity like Kahoot, which is nice because they can go back and try and improve their scores, which is helping review the materials. Now, this is a collaborative slide. So if I want to just go through them, okay, in this lab, what are the constants? What factors have to be kept the same? So what I could do is just type in the size of the bottle, because that has to be the same. And then I would post that. Now, these won't get posted unless I approve them on the teacher account, so they can't put in inappropriate stuff and it would be displayed for anybody else. That's guarded. So you can see it's kind of light here. It has to be approved by me. And they can post more than one thing. When they're going through it, if there's more than one icon, they can actually like it. And so if you want to take, okay, like the ones that are right, there's a way to collaborate between students, even if they're not in the same location. Then we go back to kind of notes, and this can be, again, you can put audio in here, you could do video. I've attached the video, the presentation. Now, in a lot of the labs we've done, we've kind of had the kids draw stuff. And this is the draw it part of the Nearpod. And this allows for a lot of things. You can have a picture in the background. They can be circling things. But if, let's say, we're talking fire in a bottle, I just want to use a pen. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the bottle. I'm not an art teacher or an art student. I'm doing the best I can, so I'll do kind of a bottle. And again, it's not great, but when they're done, they submit it. And I'll show you what that looks like later on. So then, it goes through the process of the actual lab. What are we doing? Now, for the process of those who wouldn't be here, of those who are remote learning, or those who I wouldn't see or weren't here for the lab day, I have attached a video that should work. And again, I did this right through Nearpod, so this should work. It's a short video, about 4:35. I probably won't watch the whole thing. But as you can see, it folds it right into
The whoosh bottle is a very popular demonstration, and
I'm going to go ahead
there are a couple different.
Go to the end of it.
You don't want this to be your last demonstration that you do.
All right. So they can watch a video. So if I did a video of a lab, I can insert it right in there. You can do a YouTube video. And again, this is an open-ended question. So what observations do they make? So what if they were in the lab and they could see it or smell it? They could put that, but what they saw, okay, well, we saw a blue flame. It doesn't have to be extensive answers at this point, and then they would submit. And again, it goes through some notes. And again, I've used a kind of fill in the blank, and these are notes we used to do just kind of as concept, but we could add a video in here or change this. We can see that, and again, look at the three words. Which one would make sense of being flammable? Well, the alcohol is probably flammable. We had to mix it with air, so the air is going to be here, and the alcohol for a reaction, because we saw a reaction. Again, I can have the video here, I can have a picture here. This is just bare bones, just walking you through what it looks like from a student perspective. And again, done. If I got them in the right place, perfect. I can close that, or I can just go ahead and move on. Now, what I've done here is this is now another collaborative board. So they could say, how does it reaction? And you can do a flip grid even in here. You could do so you could ask this question as a flip grid, and the students could respond in a short video, and they could share those as well. The air and alcohol. I hate alcohol. I can't never spell this word. God. Mix and create a reaction when ignited. And then they can post it. And they have a lot of the things they can put in there. They can put a picture, and we can see that it goes up on my collaborative board and anybody's input. So if I had a bunch of students, I would have all sorts of little post notes up here. And there's different formats of post notes you can use, colors, all sorts of fonts you can use. Again, this is just kind of an intro as well. We can do a poll at the end. What other factors could have impacted the reaction of the two experiments? So this can be an open-ended. What else may have caused a difference in the reaction? Well, we didn't see when we watched the video, they aren't shaking at the same time, so maybe that's it. And again, they submit it, and it's a poll, so there's no right or wrong answer for that one. And we would go back and use it as a discussion later on. So again, the end of the lab was a conclusion. So again, I would take a poll if they've seen the reaction. Which was the better reaction, the 70 or 90%? And most of the times it is the 90%. And again, it's a poll, so it's not right or wrong. This is an opinion question. Now I have an open-ended question. What could I have done more accurately? Well, let's say counted the number of times they shook the bottle. All right. So I'm doing two screens. My cursor disappears from time to time. One question we always ask in the lab is how can we expand this? What are some other things we could do to impact the results? So we could try maybe different. And then this is a collaborative board, so it's just opinion. So we could try different liquids and see if that makes a difference. And again, it goes up here, different font, all sorts of things you can play around with, and the kids can see that their responses, and the whole class would see their responses as well. And at the end of the lab, this is a nice feature. We can, suppose we follow-up questions, we can do those questions in a lab format. This is the first lab, so I made it very basic. I only did 3 questions. What's the one fact the scientist changes? Independent. I hate 2 screens sometimes. What do we call the factor? So that's dependent. And then what would not be a constant? So they have to figure out which one it would not. What's the one thing they changed? Well, we changed the percentage of alcohol, so they could submit that. And when they're done, they will see their score. They would see if they missed one, which ones they missed and what it should have been. So it's a nice reflection on them. It's immediate feedback, even sooner than I can if they're turning something in. And then that's the lab. So they could go through that. I will post another video here in just a few minutes that shows kind of how it looks from what I can do with that data. Now that students have taken it, if I've had 4 or 5 students, what is that actually, why should I even bother doing this? How does this help me? I'm going to go through that in the next video. I find it kind of useful. I found it really kind of simple. Once you get kind of rolling with it, to transfer a Google slide to a Nearpod is really basic. One thing, again, I'm advising is I am not changing. I'm using copies of my original slides. I always like to keep an original in storage, just so if I have to go back, I don't have to start all from scratch. So I hope that was somewhat informative in terms of what a student would see and how it can change the notes and the way you can go through a lesson. I think this is going to be a really useful tool moving forward here this year. So I thank you for your time. I hope I was not too loud in this video, and I look forward to any responses or questions you have.